Hello and welcome to the Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Mike Duffy, and Cameron Smart tonight. And we're here to talk to you about the upcoming game against Rotherham United at home. Another game against a team struggling in the Championship. Hopefully not another repeat of the drab performance we saw last Saturday against Huddersfield Town and their ever-growing injury list. We obviously couldn't sort of take advantage of it and ended up drawing 0-0. But before we get into all of that, first things first, how you doing, Cam? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm a bit pissed off by this weather, to be honest. I could do with a bit of sun, but roll on the weekend and let's see some great attacking football at the Vic against a very beatable team.
Yeah, let's hope so. I must say before, obviously, we get into the nitty-gritty, typically, the reason we're late, by the way, is because just as I was about to hit live, my internet went. So if my internet goes, Cam's going to hold the fort and I'm going to join back very quickly on my phone. So fingers crossed. We seem to be cursed with some sort of technical hitch curse because it feels like every week at the moment there's something goes wrong. So hopefully this is the one where it's all plain sailing and everything's good. So, yeah, if you lose me, don't panic. I'll be back, but Cam will hold the fort while I'm gone. But, yeah, hopefully we're all good. As I say, we are here to talk about the Rotherham United game. Before we talk about that, though, Cam, just a little bit of transfer news. It's sort of come out of the blue, to be honest. It's obviously, a couple of months away now. It's the January transfer window, and we hope we'll be diving into that. And the name that's cropped up at the moment is this man. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see his picture and his stats here. Divin Mubama, 19 years old. He's made 8 first-team appearances for West Ham, scoring a goal. That was in the Europa Conference League. And he's made 29 appearances for the under-21, scoring 14. He's made 57 appearances for the under-18s, scoring 40. I'll be honest, because it's come up today, I've not had a great deal of time to sort of look into him and his style of play and that. Cam, I know you have spoke to a few West Ham fans about him. What have they said about him? What can you tell us that they've said?
Well, one thing I got told is that he's better than Danny Ings, and if that's what we're getting, then bring him in. I mean, I know we got told Omri Carouge was better than that Portugal international, so I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt this time. But he seems really highly rated over there at West Ham, much like Jeremy Ngakia was, and he hit the ground running when he came in. So, we could hope for a similar impact if we do get this Mubama lad. Out of contract in the summer, so yeah, I reckon we'll try and get a cut price deal. Try and spend some of that 30 million that they were banging on about.
Yeah, the 30 mil that Ismail didn't want to spend in the summer, basically, by the sound of it. Absolutely, I think you're right there, Cam. We've got Ngakia he was on a free Ngakia, wasn't he? So,
yeah.
It's taken him a while, but he's got there, and we're starting to see the best of him at the moment. I'll mention this name before our guest Stephen comes into the lobby because of the game that we play. But on the flip side, we did also get Domingos Quina, and it didn't quite work out for him, but I think his attitude sort of spoke volumes, and that's why we're seeing sort of where he's going at the moment. I mentioned, obviously, I had to mention that before our guest gets here, because we are playing the played for both, and he played for Rotherham. So he's not in the lobby, so that's no cheating. He can't get a clue off that. He's got to remember that one. He only played 8 times for Rotherham, though, so it'd be interesting to see if he remembers him. And yes, I did mention a guest coming on. This time round, I have done the correct thing. We meant to do the Huddersfield one, and I only sent a message 20 minutes before we were going live. This time on Monday, I sent him the link. So he's definitely 100% coming. He should be, thank you, Cam. He should be here any second. But Cam, I know we said this about Huddersfield, and I listened to Do Not Scratch Your Eyes pod, and they had Huddersfield pod on, and it all sounded doom and gloom from Huddersfield's side. They had an injury list as long as your arm, and think they could field a team of injured players. They were having to play players out of position. And then after Kyle Hudlin went off, they played with no recognised striker, but we still couldn't beat them. So are you feeling a bit more reserved about Rotherham? I know they're not doing very well, and we'll talk about that. But are you thinking, like this is another potential banana skin, basically?
I think every game's a potential banana skin for us, to be honest. I'm always feeling a bit more reserved, especially when we play a team that is right down there. I'm not confident, to be honest. But above a result, I just want to see us. I just want to see us go for them. We're at home. We're playing a team that, with all due respect, we should be beating 9 times out of 10. Let's go for them. Let's we've got quality. Let's let our attacking players have the ball. Let's get at them and let's score some goals, because for God's sake, I am bored. I said it enough in the Huddersfield pod, but I don't enjoy it. So let's see some good football.
I completely agree. I think we're at home. I know that's no excuse, but away at Huddersfield, a little bit different. Away from home, you're not sort of going to see that pressing style. I don't think 9 times out of 10. I'm not saying it's excusable, but we're at home now against a team who don't travel well. And again, we'll talk about all the stats and all that business. But we really have to put on a show, because if we start poorly or if we go a goal behind, my God, it's going to be toxic inside the Vic on Saturday. But I mentioned that we're going to be joined by Matt, and I'm delighted to say that Matt is with us. Matt, thank you very much for coming back on the pod. We obviously had you on a couple of seasons ago. How you doing, mate? You all good?
Yeah, good to be back. Nice to speak to you guys. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Hopefully this time round it'll be a win. Last season, the 2 games, me and Cam went to the one at Rotherham. That ended 1-1. And then the game at Vicarage Road ended 1-1. I think the one at Vicarage Road, Cam, I don't know about you, but that left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth because of the way in which we conceded.
It wasn't a surprise, though, was it? I mean, we were doing that every week at that point. Yeah, go 1-0 down, watch the away end in the corner of my eye, having a great time, and I just sit there and moan. Yeah. It wasn't fun last season, and hopefully it can be a bit better for us this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk straight about last season, Matt. Obviously, you stayed up. That's if memory and research is correct, that's the first time you've come up to the Championship in recent years and managed to stay up at the first time of asking. It's a lot of up down with Rotherham. You finished 19th with 50 points in the end. That was 6 points clear of the drop. How did you sum up the whole of last season?
It felt like the weight of a house had been lifted off our shoulders, finally staying up. It was 3 consecutive relegations from the Championship. It was just relief. We stayed up against Middlesbrough. The second last game, we got the win and confirmed survival. And it was just joy, and everybody was just sort of relaxed, and it was a real moment for the club to be able to not go down for once. It was a real change. It wasn't without its ups and downs. Paul Warne obviously left us in early, I think it was October last year, I think, something like that. Then Matt Taylor came in, which was a shock to the system. Bear in mind, Warne had been there for 6 years, I think it was. So it had its bad times. Even in Matt Taylor last year, he had a couple of runs which were dreadful, but he managed to turn it around and get the points on the board. It wasn't a very good league last year. You guys were there. You know how poor the Championship was last season. But for us to stay up and comfortably, like I said, a game to spare. We could all have a party at Wigan on the last day of the season, which is not like us at all. It normally goes down to the wire. So that was a really, really good moment for the club and for the fans. And we were hoping to build upon it. Well, in November now, so we'll see how it goes. But there was a real buzz around the club going into the start of this season because of last season's survival.
Yeah, Matt Taylor kept you up, obviously, and replacing Paul Warne, he's obviously done a great job for you, and I know your fans loved him from who I spoke to at Rotherham away. Are you fully confident in Taylor? Is he definitely the man? How would you sort of sum him up so far?
I'm not sold on him completely. What he did last season at times was excellent. We had a few games under Matt Taylor last season where we were just amazing. We beat Blackburn 4-0 We beat Sunderland when they were on a great run of form. A couple of other teams. We beat Middlesbrough just for the playoffs as well, just for their playoff campaign started. So we beat some really, really good teams there. The problem is the poor teams we played last season. We played Huddersfield and were played off the park, and that was when Fotheringham was in charge. So it wasn't even when Warnock had taken over. So he does have his issues. This season's been, for the most part, quite poor. We had a decent opening. 4 out of the first 5 games were quite good, but then it dropped off an absolute cliff. We lost to Millwall, lost to Huddersfield, lost to a couple of other teams, and drew with Preston, who were top of the league at the time. We played better against better teams, like we drew against Ipswich on Tuesday night. We played quite well against a team who we didn't expect to beat. But then when we played other teams who we expect to beat, like Sheffield Wednesday a couple of weeks ago, we put in a completely abject performance in those sort of bigger games. So we're a very odd team under Matt Taylor, and he's got to find some consistency. We'll maybe mention our away form is it's a complete joke. How bad our away form is. It's complete madness. And if he does end up getting sacked in the next couple of months, it'll be because of that away form. That away form will potentially cost him his job, because it's 21 games without a win, I think, away from home. Well over a year now, so it's so bad.
We had similar. We beat Swansea the other week away, and that was our first away win in 295 days. So we definitely can sort of resonate in terms of how you must be feeling. And you mentioned that away form at the moment. You're actually sitting joint bottom of the away form table. 7 games you've played away, and just 1 point picked up. And the other team that's joint bottom is obviously Sheffield Wednesday as well. However, that draw did come against Southampton, which was quite a shock to many, and a really good point away from home actually. But I'm quite intrigued how you think you're going to set up this season, because a lot of our research, we use Transfer Market, and they're very good at sort of breaking stuff down. And from what I can see, there's a bit of a pattern with Matt Taylor. Is he can often switch it between a back 3 and a back 4. Now that might be completely different when you're there watching the game. It might be something completely different than that. But how do you think you'll go into this game, bearing in mind obviously struggling away from home? Would you expect him to sort of shut up shop and try and go for the point, or do you expect him to try and be at least a little bit fluid to try and get more than a point against Watford on Saturday?
I would hope, bear in mind we've picked up 2 points though, that he will have the confidence in the players to be a bit more active, basically have a little bit of a go. But history tells us that that's probably not going to be the case. We're probably going to sit in. We're probably going to try and soak up a bit of pressure and try and hit on either on the break or from a set piece or something like that. It worked against Southampton. Like I said, an odd place to pick up our only point away this season, but we were quite good. We went 1-0 down. Keeper's Victor Janssen had to pull off some world-class saves, but we stayed in the game and we managed to get a goal fairly late on. And we could have won it, to be fair. So from that point of view, it almost worked. Well, it did work because we got a point. There's other examples where we did the same against Cardiff and we lost 2-0 and we were never going to get anything out of the game. So the away form is getting everybody down at the club at the minute, because it is. I just want to try. I just want to see what put a bit of pressure on. If you put a bit of pressure on the home team, the crowd potentially gets on the back. We just want to see that attempt to do that, and we're just not seeing it. We're the mentality of all Rotherham fans, I think, at the minute is that when just Saturday away games are just gone. I just don't feel like we're going to pick anything up. And although the Championship is better this season, most of the teams in the Championship still aren't that good. So if you put them under that pressure, a lot of them will fold, especially under that home pressure, which is why it's even more frustrating that we're not going to do it. It probably will be a 4-3-3. He likes to switch mid-game to a 3-5-2 normally, but it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Against Sheffield Wednesday, we went 4-3-3, and they absolutely did us out wide. But then with 3-5-2 helped. But then against Ipswich last night, the 4-3-3 was really good, and the 3-5-2 wasn't very good. So it's very, very hit and miss. It appears to be not much logic towards what's good and what's bad, which is quite frustrating for us to understand. But I suspect it'll be 4-3-3 and let you have the ball and maybe hope for the best.
And this all sounds awfully familiar. You talking about your away performances. We know exactly what you're on about, but you're only on 11 points. You're 22nd, 4 points off safety. What do you think? Is that? I mean, it's obviously not a great start, is it? But do you think? How do you think it's gone so far? Really,
it's frustrating is the word, because when we've been good, we've been so good. We played Norwich in August, and they'd won their first 5 games, including the cup, and we just took them apart for 60 minutes. We were just so good. And there was another one against Leicester. We lost 2-1 to Leicester, but again, we were just so good against Leicester, and we're really unlucky not to pick at least a point. At that time last night against Ipswich, we were brilliant against them. But the poor time we play badly are just, there's such a gap between the good and the bad. It doesn't make much sense that we can be so good and then so bad. Where is it a playing issue? Is it a management? Is it a tactical issue? If we were sort of not very good all the time and we sort of picked up points here and there, I think we could all sort of say, yeah, we're not very good, but we're trying as best, this, that, and the other. We are really good. We can be brilliant. So why can't we see more of that? Because if we're brilliant, half of the time, we'd be comfortable. We'd 17th, 18th, it'd be really boring, and we'd all be really, really happy. But this away form is the issue that's killing everybody, killing all the confidence and everything else. It's probably a little bit worse than we expected, but we knew where we were going to be at the start of the season. I think we all accepted we're in relegation scrap. Huddersfield, I'm not convinced of Darren Moore, so I think they'll probably drop in, but I also think QPR will get out of it probably. I think they've made a good appointment with some technically really good players, so they'll probably get out of it. So it's a battle. We knew where we were going to be. It's a big season for us to stay up with the Sky deal next year, with the money could come into us as a club that tries to run without losing too much money. To stay up and get that cash will be massive for us to try and build again. But we need some consistency. We've only won consecutive games under Matt Taylor once, and that was in his first 3 games, I think, something like that. We need to get that, because 4 points, obviously, you need at least 2 win and a draw to get out, even get parity, and that's if the other teams don't win. So he needs to find some consistency. I think he is on a little bit of thin ice, Matt Taylor. People are losing patience with him. I'm not there yet, because I've seen a bit of last couple of games. There's been a bit more positive steps, but we've got to start picking up these wins. Otherwise, we're going to be 7 points adrift, 8 points adrift, and then that's just we're in January almost, but in terms of games. So then you really are cut adrift and half a season gone. So he needs to start picking up points, and pretty quickly, to be fair.
Yeah, I saw the goals from last night, and I it's so similar in aspects of being a Watford fan. Like the goal that put Ipswich ahead in the 86th minute, so avoidable and just a complete mess of a goal. And I'm like, I've seen Watford do this time and time again. And like so many times we've sat on this podcast already this season alone saying that we gifted the other team, the opposition, goals. Like we went to Coventry this season, drew 3-3. All 3 goals were totally avoidable. And it's just frustrating because you cut out the silly mistakes. You're coming away with a 3-0 win there. And, it's a lot of it, it sounds very similar to how we're doing. And I mean, given what you just said, I think the answer's pretty obvious. But I'm guessing the goal this season, even before a ball was kicked, never mind now you've seen how the first few games have panned out, I'd imagine the sort of consensus around Rotherham was, right, we stay up again this season, and that is that. Is that what the feeling was in the supporters?
It was, yeah. I mean, to be fair to Matt Taylor, even after we confirmed survival, on the day we confirmed survival last year, it was talking about survival again this year. So he set his stall out very, very early. We spent a bit of money in the summer, and we spent 1.5 million, which for us is massive money. So then I think that's got everybody's hopes, as it does in football, as we do as fans. We get a little bit excited when you've spent a little bit of money. And we all sort of think, oh, well, maybe we can have a bit of a 12th place finish this season, maybe. And then 4-1 on opening day slapped everybody in the face with a bit of realism, sadly. But yeah, if we all finished a point above relegate or even goal difference outside the relegation zone, I think we'd all be pretty happy. For us, I do want to see progress, though. If I can see a progress in the style of play being implemented, which we haven't at the minute, but if we start to see a style of play implemented, and there's a long-term plan of spending money on players to then maybe sell them on in 2 or 3 years' time for double money or whatever, then I think we can progress as a club to be a stable championship club and maybe look upwards. But sadly, it just feels like such a long way away, that kind of stability. So it is just try and stay up. We're just hoping for some good news, because it's just tough being a relegated. You've been in the Premier League a lot, so you know what it's like to lose a lot of games and try and stay up. It just takes a lot out of you as a fan. I'm just ready for some consistency, a couple of wins in a row, whatever it might be. I would take survival. I would snatch a hand off for just survival this season, 21st and survival. That would be a good season, definitely.
What players are there that you reckon will hurt us tomorrow? I quite like. I liked Ollie Rathbone last season. I thought he put in some good performances against us, and Christ Tiehi against for Wigan last season. I really like the look of him. But you know more than me. Who do you think is going to stand out tomorrow?
Ollie's good. The weekend, yeah. Rathbone is excellent when he's on it. He's like he's the Duracell bunny kind of player. He'll just go and go and go. We have sort of restricted him this season, which is frustrating. So we brought Caffo in from Forest on a free transfer. He's an excellent signing. He's technically a really, really good player, but I feel like we sort of put a lead on Rathbone to allow Caffo to do what he does, which is, I don't think we're seeing the best of Rathbone. When we're good, Rathbone is everything right about us. He's got the energy and that work rate, and he carries the ball really well. He's really good going forward and everything else, but I'm blaming the tactics on it, because Rathbone's one of those players that if he just goes and goes, so it must be a tactical issue, which maybe is restricting him. Tiehi has been excellent this season. He's so good on the ball. He's just so calm and cool. The goal he scored against Ipswich last night, I didn't know he had that in his locker, to be fair. He's not shown anything like that so far, so that was a surprise. But he's one of those type of players that when you're under a little bit of pressure, you just want him on the ball, because he'll put his foot on it, or he'll get himself out of a little bit of situation. It just takes the pressure off. So he has been, when we've been good, he has been really important to that stability and that calmness that can get in around us. The one to watch, Fred Onyedimna is on loan from your friends down the road. It's been very, very good. He's hit and miss. He's again hit and miss, as you'd expect for maybe players that come to us. When he's on it, he's brilliant. He got the assist for the first goal against Ipswich, and it was a really good bit of play and a really good cross. His defensive duties often go amiss, but that's a life of a winger, I suppose, or an attacking winger. It depends how we set up. If we go 4-3-3, Fred will definitely play. He's that type of player that when he's up for a game, I think he'll do really well. I suspect he will be up for. Bear in mind where he's long loan from. I think he'll be well up for it. Nombi got his first goal on Tuesday and he's starting to look like a proper striker. We signed. He's the one we signed for £1 million, and he really struggled for the first week. Matt Taylor, Tuesday was his first league start at home for us. Obviously signed at the end of the transfer window, so it took a while for him to get. I wouldn't say the trust of Matt Taylor, because Matt Taylor knew him at Exeter, but for Matt Taylor to trust him to start at home, and he scored the goal, took it really well. Proper striker's finish, sort of back post run, but caused a lot of problems for Ipswich. He's big and strong and quick, and got that energy about him. So, assuming he plays again, that I'm excited to see that. Well, he could also start Hugo, who was just a complete battering ram of an old school centre forward, who likes to wind everybody up. So. We've got options. The first time this season, we've started to have options, even in defence and midfield. We've got options to change it. And we can hurt any team in this league. We showed that against Leicester. We can hurt anybody. It's just a matter if we turn up, which is the very, very big question, sadly.
It's interesting you mentioned Nombe there. He, I don't know if you know this, but he's also ex-Luton. So it'd be interesting to see. He played 11 games for him in the 2021 season. So it'd be interesting to see if he's a little bit motivated by that as well. And obviously you mentioned Onyedimna, he's on loan from them down the road as well. So, two players there that maybe have that little bit extra motivation because of the link. But, for me, and Cam, I know this is sort of taken the questions a bit off topic here, but for me, Hugo's one that scares me because we just seem to not be able to cope with big sort of target men. You look at his stats there, he's 35 appearances altogether for Rotherham, 8 goals, 3 of them this season, and 59 goals in the Championship, 285 appearances in the Championship, full stop. So, he knows the league and he's back of the net is. So I think for me, it worries me because, much like on last Saturday against Huddersfield, they had Kyle Hudlin up top, who's the tallest player in the Football League, I think he is. And, me and Cam know of him because he played for our local non-league side, Solihull Moors, and he's not particularly the best player, and I certainly am surprised he's in the Football League, but just because he's tall, we seem to struggle with him. Do you find that Hugo is quite a sort of tricky customer for most defenders he's come up against this season?
He is, yeah. He likes the rough and tumble. He likes to back in, throw himself to the ground a little bit. He's just a nuisance. He's just a real nuisance for defenders. He don't give defenders a minute. He prefers the battle. If it's not so physical, I don't think he plays very well. I don't think he enjoys that, the sort of the non-physical side of the game. His goals, he's got 3 in quite quick succession. His goal record is criticised at times. We're sort of fans at the start of the season asking where the goals are going to come from. If he gets us 10 goals this season, I think he's had a good season. He's already got 3 already. So I'm pretty happy. It does come under a bit of stick from the fans because he does go down softly sometimes, and big strikers in the Championship don't get the protection, so he don't get most of the fouls that he should get, never mind the ones where he throws himself to the ground. I don't know whether he'll start, and it's him or Nombe will start. With Nombe starting midweek, I'm not sure. He will play, assuming he's fit. He will come on in the second half. He came on in the second half against Southampton and scored an absolute worldie. So he has got this in his locker. He's really important to us because he knows the league. That's something we like. Under Paul Warne, we had Michael Smith, who was excellent in League One and has shown that for us on Sheffield Wednesday. But he never really cut it. He never had that nous in the Championship. And Hugo's got that nous and got that know-how. And I think he's a leader on the pitch as well. You can see him leading everybody else as well. His age and experience has been key to us and was key. He scores massive goals for us last season to keep us up. I wouldn't want to defend against him. I would hate to defend against something like that.
Yeah. I know I've probably just sort of half answered this next. We might have already answered this question, but what sort of areas can Watford exploit on Saturday? I know obviously, there's probably quite a few, being the form away from home so far this season, but is there any one particular area you sort of, any time a team sets up, you're a bit like, oh, I'm not sure about that?
Pacey wingers scare me. Against Southampton, if not for Victor, like I mentioned earlier, if not Victor Janssen being ridiculous goalkeeper, would have been 4-0 down by half time. They absolutely did us. We had to make a substitution against Southampton and Sheffield Wednesday, made a substitution on half an hour to go from a 4 to a 5 because the overloads that wide just really hurt us. There were times last night against Ipswich where they had 3-on-1 with our left back, with Corin Bramall, not Bramall's fault, but there was an extra body in there. The 4-3 doesn't allow protection to our fullbacks. So if you can get 2 or 3 players, get the overload in there and find the ball into the space, then we're going to find ourselves problem. The benefit that they have is that we have got pace. Corin Bramall's one of the fastest players I've ever seen. Dexter Lembasika, who's on the right-hand side, is 20 now, sorry. And again, lightning quick, but they're both defensively got question marks and they haven't got that support. So if you can get a few people out wide and get crosses into the box, then it could be a very, very long afternoon. But then Ipswich last night, we defended quite well out wide against Ipswich. It's the away form that just baffles me. Will baffle me till the day I die, probably. It doesn't make any sense why we're so bad away from home. And the last away game against Sheffield Wednesday, they just took us apart out wide. They just completely overloaded us. And they were bottom of the league, not won a game all season. So there's not many teams worse than that at the time. So if you can get that right, get us defending fairly high, and then sort of spring a pace out wide, then you'll have success. But maybe that's why Matt Tiller sits in, because he is aware of that issue, so he sits in to sort of defend against it. But yeah, the wide area is an issue. If we do play the 4 at the back, 5 it tends to be okay. But if we play 4 at the back, that is a massive worry.
Yeah, I don't think you got a lot to worry about them because we do absolutely nothing out wide.
I don't know, Cam. This sounds like the game for Martins to come back.
Well, you mentioned pace, and we have some tricky players out wide, but we don't have pace and we don't get crosses into the box at all. And if we do get a cross in the box, it'll be Bio in there. And yeah, I mean, you're more likely to score an own goal. So yeah, Anyway, there's been 4 games between Watford and Rotherham in my time watching football. I haven't been around for long. They've been all right. You know, the 4-1 win away in lockdown, that was big on our big winning run under Chisco Munoz. We had Troy Deeney's last open play goal, and 2 really good goals last season. João Ferreira and Vacan Bayo both scoring beautiful goals. What are your sort of big Watford Rotherham memories, if you've got any?
I can't think of anything positive. All I know is our record against you guys is pretty poor. We probably won in the early 2000s. I haven't done the research yet for our show, but I know it's not very good. I remember the 4-1 in lockdown. That was our first game after a COVID outbreak, and we played this team who were destroying all before them, and we had about 12 fit players to pick from, and we missed a penalty as well, which made it even more fun. I also remember the one at your guys, because the one at your place in COVID, you had fans in, didn't you? There was 2,000 fans in or something like that. Yeah, we were dreadful on that night as well. So yeah, you've always been pretty successful, and we've always been fighting for safety. So it's rarely been positive for us. But then the 2 games last season, although they were only point each, I quite enjoyed both games. I thought they were both really competitive, which is not used for you guys, being around where you wanted to be. But they were quite competitive games, and either team could have won both of them. I'm hoping for similar Saturday, where if we lose 2-1, but we've had a proper go, we've had a bit of a go and push you all the way, I won't be happy, but I'll be content that we've done something. I just don't want to see another 4-1 or 2-0 like it were in the COVID seasons, because that'll get me down.
Yeah, I've had quite a good few memories. I mean, I've always said that, you know, Rotherham's one of my favourite away games. I don't know what it is, and I probably one of the very few fans that enjoys a trip up to Rotherham. I mean, it's not too far from me. I live in Lincoln now, and I was living in Nottingham, so a nice short journey. And obviously, me and Cam went last season. Gutted we couldn't get the win. I remember going up there one Tuesday night, the season we got promoted in 2014-15, and we won 2-0. I think Minari and Lloyd Dyer scored, and we were absolutely dreadful that night. And we still come away with a win. And those are the best sort of games for me. Like when you go away from home, you crap all game, but you still win. And you know, it's a long sort of cry from the team we are now. You know, we crap and we don't come away with a win. Back then, we had the togetherness, the character of being able to be crap and still pick up the relevant points. And you mentioned there the sort of results against Watford and at Watford. There are a few stats here. Watford are unbeaten in the last 10 meetings against Rotherham, home and away, and we're unbeaten in the last 5 home games. We've won 3 and drawn 2. We've only lost 2 of the last 19 games against Rotherham, winning 10 and drawing 7. And Rotherham's last win at Vicarage Road was in February 2003. Tommy Smith scored for Watford, and Martin McIntosh and Chris Swales scored for Rotherham. And Paul Warne actually come on as a sub that game for Rotherham. So, yeah, it's not the happiest hunting ground for Rotherham, but there's been some good few memories, to be honest. Now, before you leave, we like to play a little game. Now, Matt, I know you was on the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast. I can promise you now it's not as crazy as that. You're not going to see like a cat trying to predict the score, or I'm not going to get a backgammon set out. They're brilliant guys over at Do Not Scratch Your Eyes, but they're absolutely mad as a box of frogs. Yeah. We like to be simple and test the knowledge of, your Watford and Rotherham knowledge. So we like to play for both. So at the moment, there is a nice little leaderboard. So for those that are listening on podcast and not watching on YouTube, the leaderboard at the moment, we've got James from Wednesday Till I Die has named 5 players. He's sitting top. Then joint seconds, you've got Dana from the Borough Breakdown and Jamie from the Blues Focus podcast. They both named 3 players. Then Glenn from the Sky Blue Hub has named 2 players. And then bottom of the pile is Adam from the Gone Off on a Tangent podcast, the Leeds United fan, who named 1 player. Now, we've actually had a look. We use a website, but annoyingly, they didn't actually allow us to search Watford and Rotherham. So we've had to do some digging. So I've gone back to the 2000s, all the way back to 2000s to now. And I think we've got them all. I believe there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 13 here. How many of those do you think you can name, Matt?
I've got 3.
Okay.
I'm happy with 3.
You're happy with 3? Who's your 3 then?
Will Hoskins.
Yeah.
And Lee Williamson, I think, went at the same time.
Yeah.
And Paolo Venazza.
Oh, yes. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. As you mentioned there, Will Hoskins, 70 appearances for Watford, 9 goals, 80 appearances for Rotherham and 24 goals. We signed him when we went up to the Premier League. And it was a bit weird because I think you guys were in League One at the time.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we surprised everyone, even ourselves, by going up. And like we had no right being in the Premier League back then. And we were like, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll sign a striker that scored a few goals in League One to try and keep us up. And it was like, what? And as you mentioned as well, Lee Williamson, I think he was part of the same deal. 78 appearances for Watford with 5 goals, 62 appearances for Rotherham with 10 goals. I didn't have time to get the picture of Paolo Venazza, which is annoying, but Paolo Venazza obviously played for Watford. Currently the agent of Will Hughes as well, so he's a bit hit and miss with our fans. Some of the other ones you could have had, one that Watford fans will probably be screaming out. He didn't play much for you guys. Legend that is Lloyd Doyley. Annoyingly, the slides have sort of overlapped, so you can't really see it there. He made 443 appearances for Watford, scoring twice, and he only made 3 for Rotherham. Do you have any memories of Lloyd at Rotherham, or was it just he was out quicker than he was in?
We came in during Warnock's reign, I think, just before Warnock came in and played. That kit gives me bad memories because it was a horrendous season until Warnock turned up. It was part of the Great Escape. We call it the Great Escape team because we were 6 points adrift in February and Warnock came in and stopped us up. So he's part of a very famous team. Sadly, I forgot about him, but he's part of a very famous Rotherham team.
He only made 3 appearances, to be fair. One of the other ones, he's one of my favourite Watford players. His first season in a Watford shirt was one of the best I've seen from a debut season. And again, for the purpose of those listening on a podcast, it's Joel Ekstrand, 100 appearances for Watford and 2 goals. I'm quite surprised because when I looked, he only played 1 game for Rotherham. I thought he played a handful more, but I think he played more for Bristol City, and maybe I'm just being lazy and thinking 2 teams in red. But just the 1 appearance, I'm guessing he couldn't really make an impact as such, could he?
He got injured, I think. But when Paul Warne first took over, and he played 1 game. I think he came on as sub as well. I don't even think he started. I think he came on for like last 10 minutes, something like that. And then he did something. It was a pretty serious injury. He came in January and then ended his season after 1 game. So he's part of it. And again, a famously bad football team that season, sadly.
That's what ruined him the second season with Watford. I'd say the first season, we were talking about our best Watford 11s in our group chat the other day, and I put Joel Ekstrand in mine because that first season he was phenomenal, and then he had a really bad injury, and then I think he was pretty much hampered by it. The next player, Will Hoskins, we've already seen him. Domingos Quina, I'm surprised I didn't get him. He's one of the more recent ones. He's been proper hit and miss with us, hasn't he, Cam? Because as you see there, 37 appearances and 3 goals. He scored that wonder goal against Cardiff in the Premier League, 8 appearances for Rotherham. But Cam, it was pretty much his attitude by the sounds of it which let him down, because he's currently at our sister club Udinese, and I don't think he gets much of a look in there. But he couldn't really get his career off the ground with us, could he, Cam?
No, and it was such a shame because he looked like the real deal under Javi when he came in. £1 million from West Ham, and I think it was Capoue got a suspension away at Leicester, and that's when Quina got his big break, and he almost kept Capoue out the team at that point. And I mean, Matt, you won't know how highly we rate Etienne Capoue, but that is some feat. And to think a player that, with all due respect, ended up at Rotherham last season and, couldn't really get a game, could he? Yeah, I don't know. It shouldn't have gone that way for him. He should be way above the Championship.
Was there any reason he only got 8 appearances, Matt? Could he not force his way in, or was there rumours of an attitude problem as well from your side?
No injury. He came injured, and then he got another injury for getting back fit, and then he got sent off just for a last man foul. He was okay. He had moments where he thought, "Wow, this kid's got something," and then other moments where he thought, "Well, he don't look like he wants to play football anymore." One of those guys, and if he got his head down, he'd be a Premier League player, wouldn't he? But it's not always the case, sadly.
I think you've summed him up perfectly there, to be honest. That pretty much sums up his career with us. Now, I couldn't find a picture of him in a Rotherham shirt. Lionel Ainsworth, he didn't really pull up trees for us. You're laughing there. Is he another shocker? Did he arrive injured?
No, he didn't arrive injured. No, it was one of Steve Evans' signings in League Two. Steve Evans signed about 60 players over 2 seasons. And there was a big fall. He played a few times and looked pretty good. And then he had a big falling out when we sent him to Scotland. I can't remember, Motherwell or something like that he went to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He had a really good career in Scotland, from what I remember. But he showed promise. But he was League Two, so he should have shown promise. But yeah, it fell out. Most people do, they fall out with Steve Evans. And you just didn't see him again.
Typical. The next man, I must admit, I loved him when he was at Watford, but he proper sort of ruined his credibility with Watford fans the season after. Scott Loach, he was such highly rated goalkeeper, drawn from Lincoln City, and there were bids turned down from Tottenham. I think we turned down 1.25 million. And we were holding out for a big bid because, we've always sort of been a selling club, but we sort of heavily relied on selling players back then. And we thought, right, we can knock Tottenham back. We're going to get a big bid. And he was playing for England under 21s. I think he played in one of the games against Germany and they got absolutely battered. I think it was like 4 or 5-0. That probably didn't do his case very well. And then the season after, we went and sold him for 250 grand to Ipswich. And they come to Vicarage Road, beat us 2-1 in the last minute, and he was kissing his Ipswich badge right in front of the main Watford end. So, the team that's just given him his chance, played him 70-odd times and helped him break through into men's first-team football, and he comes back at the first chance and starts giving it the big 1-0. So, I think he let himself down there, and he's currently he can't even get onto Derby's bench at the moment. And, I mean, Paul Warne, your ex-manager's not doing great there. So I think, a little bit of karma's got to him. But was he all right with you guys? Did he play much?
No, he was, again, one of Steve Evans' many signings. I think he's a local boy. I think he's from Rotherham. So I think it was always a destined to play for us briefly. But he was never number one or anything like that. I think he was sort of second choice or third choice at times, probably close to third choice. He would have very rarely, but he's probably done quite well to find a picture of him wearing a Rotherham shirt, to be honest.
Yeah, some of them were a little bit difficult. I'm surprised I got one of the next man, John Harley. He definitely come to us in his later knockings of his career. Obviously, had a really good stint at Chelsea and Fulham, and also played for you guys. And then a few others I didn't get a chance to get pictures of. Obviously, you've mentioned Paolo Venazza. Adam Thompson. Now, we had him as a youngster, but I don't think he made a first-team appearance for Rotherham, if my research is correct.
No, the defender, Adam Thompson.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah. He played the promotion season, which got the pre-COVID, the one that got stopped during COVID. He played for us that season. He was a solid defender. I think he went to Leyton Orient League 2 and won the league with him. So he had something about him. He's definitely a lower league defender. I liked him. He was a popular guy. But he was limited, sadly. He was never going to play for us in the Championship. But I liked him in League One, definitely. He was a good player.
Yeah, no, when he come through the ranks, because Watford were very much, they would bring through a lot of players from the academy back then. And he was one that, he was quite likeable and always put a good shift in. Matt Sadler was another one. He's currently manager at Walsall. Also had stints Shrewsbury, Birmingham, etc. Josh Walker didn't really do much with us. I think that was around 2008. I think he was on loan with you guys before he come to us, or vice versa, midfielder. And then the last one that we could find was Bruce Dyer, who he was really early 2000s, a striker. So yeah, but you've got 3 there, so you've definitely cemented your place on the table there with the rest of the other guys. So yeah, that's good going. You'll be sitting joint seconds of the leaderboard. But thank you very much for coming on, Matt. I really do appreciate it. And as it says at the bottom of the screen there, Matt is from the New York Talk podcast. All the links, so the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, Spotify and Apple Podcasts is in the description of this video on YouTube. It's in the description of the Spotify and Apple Podcast description as well. So make sure you head over to them, check their Watford preview. Have you done your Watford preview yet, Matt?
No, that'll be out live Thursday night on YouTube. Fancy.
There we go. So make sure you go and check that out. But really appreciate you coming on tonight, Matt. And best of luck for the rest of the season, other than the 2 games against us. And I really do hope you stay up because, like I say, Rotherham is one of my favourite away days. But before you go, what's your score prediction?
Bear in mind our away form, I obviously can't predict us to win because it's just not going to happen. So I will go 2-1 to you guys in typical Rotherham fashion.
Yeah, I think we'd take that as well, to be honest. But fingers crossed that comes to fruition. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us tonight, Matt. Take care, buddy.
And you boys. Cheers, boys.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye. So, Cam, there we go. Matt has had his say from the Rotherham camp, and I'm not getting carried away because we heard all of this about Huddersfield and how doom and gloom it is, and they want Darren Moore out, and there were fans chanting to get Darren Moore out after the Leeds game, even though he's only just come in. He said the Matt Taylor's on thin ice with some fans. They've won 1 point from 7 away games. They're rock bottom of the away form table. Everything's pointing to a scrappy 1-0 win, isn't it, to Rotherham? But I know I said I'm not getting carried away, but does anything there give you a little bit of shining, glimmering hope? Do you think we can exploit them in areas, or are you just thinking, right, forget that, we just need to focus on performance and hopefully the result will follow?
Yeah, look, I certainly am encouraged by someone coming on here and saying there's absolutely nothing good about them, but they can play well, as he said. They can be, they can beat anyone. They've got some good points this season. Yeah, it's not happened for them away, but they did draw away at Southampton, didn't they? I don't know. I think they can hurt us, and the players he outlined, Christ Tiehi and Jordan Hugill, they certainly can hurt us. I was a bit more confident before he said they haven't won away in over a year. But that's just, we're here to break those records for people. So absolutely. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a rollover. Obviously not.
No. In terms of changing the team, would you make any changes from the Huddersfield team?
I would, but it depends on discipline, doesn't it? Because we never know. We never know who's turned up late. I'm kind of hoping someone might take some air out of Bio's tires before training. Get Healy a game. I mean, if it was up to me, Healy would be starting on Saturday. But
okay, on his own as or in a 2.
Well, look, I don't want to stray too far from what's realistic here, but I personally would maybe be playing a front 2. It's a dilemma we've got that we need to get Mateus Martins in the team. He's our most threatening player, but Ken Sema is also one of our more effective ones too. So it's how do we get both of them in the team? And I think at home you can afford to put a Ken Sema at left back. Let him support Martins. Martins will he'll drag defenders in. He'll cut in and he'll drag a defender with him. And that's where Ken can make that run and he can put a good ball in. That's what I want to see. I want to see Kone back in as well.
100%,
yeah, I think he gave us so much energy against Millwall, and that's the best we've looked for a good while. So, yeah, I'd have Kone back in. Chak Matadze wasn't great away at Huddersfield, to be honest. Other than that, I think that's all we can do, really.
Yeah, I think I saw someone on Twitter say they were at the game against Huddersfield, and you could clearly see at the full-time whistle that Kono was distraught. You know, obviously it come out after the game that his alarm didn't go off, so he missed training or something, or the meeting. And you know, I know it's no excuse, but you got to feel for the lad there. You know, it's happened to it. It's happened to all of us. And you know, there's so many of these tweets and so many people asking. I know you put a tweet out, Cam, saying, you know, is it working and all that. And I think the positive, as you say, I think it was brought up in your tweet, is that we haven't had the same player done twice. If that was the case, then yes, you could say, well, it's not working because he's been late again. Every player that's done it has then so far not done it again. So it is working in a sense, and we have to change that mentality after, like, behind the scenes. Dean Whitehead said in his interview with Andrew French that, you know, players were happy to take the fine if they were late. And, you know, I know they're financially they're able to do that, but that's not what you want to see. That's not what you want to hear. And it's just like they don't give a shit, to be honest. Like first in and first out sort of mentality. But yeah, I think if I was Ishmael, I would probably be looking to put Ken at left back. I don't think Lewis did anything of note. He didn't impress me against Huddersfield. Now look, you know, I was on this podcast a couple of weeks ago saying that we've got to be patient with him because he's not played sort of regular football for a good 2-3 seasons now, and I still stand by that. And the only way he's going to get better is by playing a run of games, quite similar to Ngakia, to be honest. He needs a run of games so he can build up his confidence and his form. But I just think with Matt saying that wingers can hurt them and they can get real hurt down the sides, I just think that Ken might have a better understanding with Martins and the overlapping, a bit like how we saw with Kiko and Sarr, you know, back in lockdown and back in the day. You know, we want to see that. And I think Ken will get forwards. He will look to get the ball in, those cutbacks and everything. And to be honest, I'm going to jump to my score prediction now. I'm going to go 2-0 to Watford. And I think Martins is going to score with his trademark cut in and hit it from the edge of the box, because he doesn't seem... I think only a couple of his goals have come from inside the box. A lot of them, he does that cut in on his stronger foot and hit it on the edge of the box. And I think he'll score one of them on Saturday. And I also think Rajovic is going to score now. Whether he starts or not, personally, I think he'll start Bio, because it's quite clear he likes Bio and he does work hard for the team, and he needs a goal or a couple of goals to get, you know, his confidence going and you know, the ball rolling, pardon the pun. But I think Rajovic will come off the bench and I think he'll score. If we can get the ball, and it's a big if we can get the ball in and those crosses in, Rajovic will score one of them. And yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win, Martins and Rajovic. What's your score prediction, Cam?
Well, you know how you said you're not going to get carried away based on what Matt's come on here and said.
Yeah, but I don't think 2-0 is getting carried away. I just think that we're at home, and I always feel a little bit more safe at home, and there's a bit more of a safety cushion for me at home, you know. But I think if we can score an early goal, we will be all right. And yeah, I'm not getting carried away. I don't think 2-0 is getting carried away.
Well, I'm going to get carried away here, and I'm going to say 3-1. I think Yasser will have a good game. He mentioned that, you know, Cohen Bramall at left back is quite vulnerable. So I think Yasser could have a bit of freedom. And if he's on it, we could score 3 goals. I agree about Martins. I think we need him back in the team, get us a bit of a spark, you know, let their defenders worry about something. And he can do that. And yeah, I'm not going to pick Rajovic to score because... you know, I've got my problems with him.
He's got 4 goals this season, Cam.
Yeah, I know, but we'll find him once in a blue moon and maybe he'll score. But he scored 2 games ago. It's not going to come again for another maybe 2-3 more games. So yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking 3-1, but I know I'm going to be completely let down by Saturday, 5:00.
Well, I'm luckily or unluckily, this is yet to be seen. I'm not going to be able to watch it because I'm in Birmingham shopping. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to watch it, so I'll have to rely on Flash Score giving me updates and me constantly checking my watch whenever it buzzes, thinking, "Oh, is this a goal?" No, it's just another group chat. I mean, buzzing off. So yeah, it's it'll be quite nice to not be under the stress of watching Watford. I might catch the second half. I don't know whether I'll be driving back. I don't know yet, but who knows? But yeah, I'm feeling a bit confident. But just before we wrap it up, just a couple of things really. First things first. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the ticker at the bottom. Don't be afraid to get your questions in. We absolutely love interacting with you guys. There'll be a guy that watches this, no doubt. Mark, his name is. For the life of me, can't remember your surname, Mark, but I do apologise. You'll know it's you because you commented on our last video. We love interacting with the fans. So if you're ever watching and there's an opposition fan on and you want to know something that we've not asked, please do pop it in the comments and we'll ask him. We try to do the best research we can. We try to ask the best questions which fans will want to know, from other fans of teams that we're about to face. But we're not superhuman robots. We're not going to know all the best questions to ask. So if you think, oh, well, actually, he's just said something, pressing more on this, let us know. Pop it in the comments and we'll ask the guest. And if you want to ask us anything as well, if there's anything that you think needs to be discussed, let us know. You guys, without you guys, there is no podcast. So it's you guys that really help sort of make this happen. And also as well, as it stands at the moment, I can see in my top corner how many people are watching the podcast. And as always, there is more people watching on YouTube than there is Facebook. Now, I like to do a bit of stats digging on YouTube, and I love to find out who's watching from what country and what part of England and how old our viewers are and what platforms you listen on, how you listen, do you use your TV, your mobile phone, your laptop. It tells us everything. And one stat which it tells us is how many of our viewers are actually subscribed to us. Now, this is one that shocked me because 78% of our viewers of all our videos aren't subscribed to us. Now, you might not know, if you've got a Gmail account, then all you need to do, you can log in using your Gmail account. You don't need to have a dedicated YouTube account. If you've got a Gmail account, log in and hit that subscribe button, because the more subscribers we get means the more we'll be able to do with our videos. We might even then get monetization, which means it can go towards better equipment. It can go towards some mics that bloody work for one, and we can bring you live podcasts in pubs and you can hear us and we can have a hoot. And obviously with better quality equipment comes better quality podcasts, and that's what we want. We've been going for 4 years now, and if I'm honest, the last couple of years we probably have taken our foot off the gas a little bit, hence why we brought the likes of Cam, Katie and Joe in. We needed a freshen up, we needed something new, we needed a new direction, and we want this to be a real good podcast. We're blessed at Watford to have some very good podcasts, and we want to be one of those. So when you're talking to your mates down the pub and you're like, oh, did you listen to the podcast after the game? We want to be one of those that comes up in conversation. So, yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube and you've not already, hit that like button, because the more likes on the video, the better. And it does a lot more than you think. We appear on a lot more people's social feeds. And hit that subscribe button as well. We're currently at 417 subscribers. It's a big ask, but I want to get to 500 subs by Christmas. That leaves us a little over a month. So a big ask, but like I say, it'll be worth it in the long run, and we'll look to do more content, better content, more ex-player content as well. And talking of ex-player content, after this week, there is another international break. I don't know why. why we keep having them, I do not know. We have got an ex-player interview lined up. I'm not going to tell you who just yet, but we'll put a clue out probably after the game on Saturday, maybe in the week leading up to the first England game. We'll put a clue out as to who we're going to be interviewing. And then just lastly as well, we'll be looking to, in the new year, we're going to be freshening the sort of look up. We're hopefully going to have a new logo. We might do that. We'll put a poll out on our Twitter. We're currently exploring different theme tunes as well, just again to freshen it up. And also as well, if you know anyone or you are yourself someone that can do this, we are looking to get the podcast animated. So I know we obviously do YouTube, but it would be nothing better than having it sort of animated. A bit like the guys that do not scratch your eyes, they sometimes animate their own stuff as well, and it's brilliant. So if you know someone or if you are someone that does it, please do drop us a DM, drop us an email. All the details are in the description of this podcast and this YouTube video. But yeah, that's all the boring stuff really done. Like I say, I won't be watching on Saturday, but one of these guys will be back on Sunday, probably Sunday evening, to talk about the Rotherham game. Hopefully 3 points, and hopefully it's 6 games unbeaten, and it's a little bit more cheery, and we can talk about a more complete performance. But yeah, till then, stay safe, everyone. Take care, and come on, you Horns.